The Missing Vase. Part 1. It was a big house on the edge of the city. The family was rich, and the house was full of gold frames, soft carpets, and heavy curtains. But the most important thing in the living room was not gold or silver. It was a vase. The vase was blue, made of porcelain, and very old. It was a gift from the wife's grandmother. She loved it more than any other thing in the house. She looked at it every day. One morning, the wife entered the living room. She looked at the fireplace. Her eyes opened wide. The vase was not there.
The vase. It is gone. Where is my vase?
Her voice was loud. Everybody in the house came running. The son, the daughter, the butler, and the maid stood in the room. They all looked at the empty place on the fireplace. The wife was very angry and very sad. She called a detective. Soon, the detective arrived. He was tall, with a black hat and a notebook in his hand. He looked around the room slowly. He saw dust on the fireplace. He saw a small piece of porcelain on the carpet.
Do not worry, madam. I will find the vase.
The detective decided to speak with the maid first. She cleaned the living room every day. She was nervous. Her hands were shaking.
Did you touch the vase?
No, sir. I only cleaned the room.
Did you see anything strange?
Yes. I saw the sun near the vase last night.
Everybody looked at the sun. His face became red.
I was only looking. I did not take it.
The detective wrote something in his notebook. Then he turned to the butler. The butler was old, with gray hair. He always wore a black suit.
Where were you last night?
In the kitchen. I was making tea.
Did you hear anything?
Yes, I heard a noise. Something fell down.
The detective looked again at the small piece of porcelain on the carpet. The family looked nervous. The air in the room was heavy. The Missing Vase, Part 2. The detective closed his notebook for a moment. He looked at the daughter. She was young, about 20 years old, with long hair and a calm face. But her hands were cold, and she was looking at the floor.
Miss, where were you last night?
I was in my room. I was reading a book.
Did you leave your room?
No, only for a glass of water.
The detective looked at her carefully. She did not want to look back.
Did you see the vase?
Yes, I saw it, but it was already late, and I went back to bed.
The detective wrote more notes. Then he turned to the husband. The husband was a strong man, but he looked tired. He crossed his arms and stood near the window.
Sir, you are the master of the house. Where were you last night?
I was in my study. I had work to do.
Did you hear the noise?
No, I heard nothing.
The wife looked at him quickly, almost surprised. The detective noticed that.
What kind of work did you do?
Letters. Business letters.
The detective kept silent for a moment. Then he walked around the room. He touched the empty place on the fireplace. He picked up the small piece of porcelain from the carpet. He showed it to the family.
Look, the vase is broken. Someone broke it here, in this room.
The wife gasped.
Broken? No, it cannot be broken.
Yes, I am sure. But the question is, who broke it?
The room became quiet. Everybody was thinking. The son was nervous. The daughter was pale. The maid was biting her lip. The butler stood still like a statue. The husband looked out of the window, not saying a word. The detective walked slowly to the door.
I will speak to each of you again, one by one, and I will find the truth.
He left the living room and entered the long corridor. The sound of his shoes echoed on the marble floor. The case was only beginning. The Missing Vase, Part 3. The detective went back to the living room. He asked everyone to sit down. Then he pointed to the son.
You first. Come with me.
The son followed him into a small study. The detective closed the door. The room was quiet.
Tell me again, what did you do last night?
I was in the living room. I looked at the vase. That is all.
Why did you look at it?
Because it is beautiful. And because my mother loves it. I wanted to see why.
The detective wrote in his notebook.
Did you touch it?
No, sir. I did not touch it.
The maid said she saw you near the vase.
Yes, I was near it. But I was only looking, I swear.
The boy's eyes were big and honest, but he was nervous. His hands were shaking. The detective thought for a moment, then opened the door.
You may go. Send in your sister.
The daughter entered. She walked slowly, her head down. The detective asked her to sit.
What book did you read last night?
A novel. It was in my room.
What is the name of the book?
It is called Love and Secrets.
You left your room for water, yes?
Yes.
Did you go into the living room?
No, only to the kitchen. I was thirsty.
The detective looked at her carefully.
But you said you saw the vase. How could you see it if you did not enter the living room?
The daughter froze. She opened her mouth but said nothing. Her face turned white.
Well, how did you see it?
I walked past the living room. The door was open. I looked inside.
The detective tapped his notebook with his pen. He was not sure if she was telling the truth.
Very well. You may go.
The daughter stood and left the room. The detective stayed alone for a moment. He looked at the small piece of porcelain in his hand. He spoke quietly to himself.
One of them is lying. But who? The son, the daughter, or someone else?
The Missing Vase, Part 4. The detective called the maid into the study. She walked quickly, her eyes looking down. She held her apron in her hands.
Sit down, please.
Yes, sir.
The detective showed her the small piece of porcelain.
Do you know this?
It looks like the vase, sir.
Yes, the vase is broken. Did you see it break?
No, sir. I only saw the sun near it.
Tell me exactly, what time was it?
It was late, maybe 10 o'clock.
And what did he do?
He stood near the fireplace. He looked nervous. Then I left.
Did you hear a noise later?
Yes, I heard something, like glass or porcelain, but I was in the corridor.
The maid's hands were shaking. She looked scared.
Thank you. You may go.
Next came the butler. He entered slowly, his back straight. He looked calm, but his eyes were tired.
You said you were in the kitchen last night.
Yes, sir. I was making tea.
Did anyone see you?
No, sir. I was alone.
You said you heard a noise. Where did it come from?
From the living room, I think.
What kind of noise?
A crash. Something fell and broke.
The detective tapped the porcelain piece on the table.
Like this?
Yes, sir. Exactly like that.
The detective looked at him for a long time.
Why did you not go and see what happened?
Because it was not my place, sir. This is a big house. Many noises happen. I did not want to disturb the family.
The detective did not answer. He closed his notebook and leaned back in his chair. The butler stood very still. His face showed no fear, no emotion.
You may go.
When the butler left, the detective was alone again. He put the porcelain piece on the table and stared at it.
The maid saw the son. The daughter gave 2 answers. The butler heard the crash but did nothing. Someone is lying. But who? And why?
The detective stood up. He looked out of the window. The garden was dark, the trees moving in the wind. The mystery was deepening. The Missing Vase, Part 5. The detective called the husband into the study. He walked in with slow steps. He was tall and strong, but his shoulders were heavy. He sat down and crossed his arms.
You said you were in your study last night.
Yes, I was working.
Working on letters, correct?
Correct.
Show me the letters.
I burned them. They were private.
Burned them? At night?
Yes, I always do.
Did you hear a noise in the living room?
No, I heard nothing.
The detective leaned forward.
But the butler heard a crash. The maid heard it too. How is it possible that you, so close in your study, heard nothing?
The husband did not answer. He looked at the floor. His fingers moved nervously on the arm of the chair.
Sir, are you hiding something?
No, I am not hiding anything.
The detective stayed calm. He put the porcelain piece on the table between them.
This was on the carpet. The vase did not disappear. It broke. Someone in this house broke it. The question is, who?
The husband said nothing. He breathed slowly, his face pale. The detective stood up.
I will speak to your wife now, and then I will know the truth.
The husband looked at him quickly, but then he turned away. The Missing Vase, Part 6, Final. The detective entered the living room again. The wife was waiting, her eyes full of fear and anger. She stood near the fireplace, looking at the empty place.
Madam, I must ask you a few questions.
Of course. Please find my vase.
Do you know that the vase is broken?
No. No, it cannot be broken.
I am sorry, but I've found pieces on the carpet.
Who did this? Who touched my vase?
The detective walked around the room. He looked at each person one by one.
The son was near the vase, but he did not touch it. The daughter told 2 different stories, but she is not the one. The maid only cleaned. The butler only heard the noise. There is only one person left.
The detective turned to the husband.
It was you.
The room was silent. The wife looked at her husband in shock.
You? My vase? Tell me it is not true.
The husband stood up. His face was white. His lips moved, but no words came. Finally, he spoke very quietly.
Yes, it was me. I broke it.
The wife gasped.
Why? Why did you not tell me?
It was an accident. I touched it when I passed the fireplace. It fell, it broke into pieces. I was afraid. I did not want you to be angry, so I hid the pieces.
Tears came to the wife's eyes.
You lied to me. All this fear, all this noise in the house, for nothing.
The detective closed his notebook.
The case is solved. The vase is gone, but the truth is here. Lies make the house dark. Truth makes it clear again.
The wife turned away. her heart heavy. The husband stood in silence, ashamed. The family looked down. Nobody spoke. The old house was quiet again, but now the silence was different. It was the silence after truth.
If you enjoyed this, please leave a like. It really helps me create more content like this. Thank you for listening, and take care. And if you'd like to be the first to know about new videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.
Okay, bye.